it's all Amber's fault.
It's not. I've been sitting here patiently while
100%.
Brian was running around getting his tea.
100% Amber's fault.
It's 0% my fault.
I refuse to take responsibility.
Well, too bad, so sad.
I don't think we have any people who are waiting. I don't know. Hopefully you can see it on the live stream.
Yeah, it's playing for me now. It was
All right.
a little bit of a delay.
Well then, I don't think we ever settled on a question for the month.
No, we didn't. I was realizing that.
Yes. How many cuckoos till the clock strikes midnight?
That's an odd one.
Hi Tuesday, welcome. We were just debating on what our question of the month will be. I'm horribly disorganized, in case you didn't recognize that. So, the question of April is, how much rain have you gotten?
It's not even April, it's May.
May. How much rain have you gotten this month? So I just think it's going to be like a little... It's a really big cop-out type of question.
It is.
Not some. We'll go much, and then torrential downpour. How do you spell torrential?
Torrential.
Wow, I got that right. Wow. Welcome. Welcome Tuesday. Welcome everyone else who is here to the live stream event for this month. I don't know what month it is, as you can already tell, because I have no sense of time, and that's perfectly fine.
I know what month it is because it's my birthday month. Thank you everyone for the birthday wishes yesterday.
Let's get started. Let's get started on this madness. All right, folks, and our first letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Tell My Boyfriend How Disappointed I Am in the Date That He Took Me On? Oh, you have to say for a little poll.
A little for the poll, but it only rained one day.
Oh, I see. A little.
It's
only.
been raining like every other day for us. Like, we have not had a rain-free Saturday in like 10 weeks.
Yeah, we have had rain, and we're getting more rain tomorrow. Welcome, Robin. Well, I hope we're not interrupting your sleep too much here. So, our first letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Tell My Boyfriend How Disappointed I Am in the Date That He Took Me On? For some background, my boyfriend doesn't make a lot of money. I don't mind this at all, but it also means that we don't go out as much because he doesn't like me paying for him. So, when he told me that he wanted to take me to a nice dinner on him, I was pleasantly surprised. Turns out that his mom gave him a $50 voucher for a nice restaurant nearby, and said that he has saved up a bit of money to cover the rest of the cost. Well, he had been to this restaurant before and had always raved about the beef Wellington. I was excited. We got there and we sat down and he ordered a beer. So I followed suit and I got the same. He made a comment about just this one and then waters after this. Okay, not a problem. So we started looking at the menu and he was raving about the beef Wellington again. I said that it sounded amazing and I think I would like to try that. Then he says, okay, great, so I'll order that, and now maybe let's look at some of the pastas. Huh? I was confused for a minute. Then he pointed out a penne alla vodka, the cheapest item on the menu, and mentioned how good that looked. I agreed, but I said, what happened to wanting the beef Wellington? He said, yeah, I'm going to order that. I was thinking the penne for you, then we can try both. I caught on at this point that the budget wouldn't cover the both of us getting a pricey meal, so I agreed to order the pasta. I was a bit annoyed, but whatever. I also noticed at this point that there was a plate splitting fee on the menu. To be honest, I don't really know exactly what that was, but I assume that it means there's a fee if you want to split your meals between you. I put our orders in, and our drinks are empty at this point, so I asked for a water like he indicated. He orders another beer for himself. Now I'm a bit more annoyed. I did consider telling him that I would pay for my portion just so that I could order the things that I actually wanted, but I didn't want to imply that he wasn't spending enough on me when he was so excited about taking me out and paying for it himself. Well, anyways, our food comes out and he is in heaven. I admit the pasta was actually amazing as well. I had a bite of his, but declined when he offered to put half of it on my plate out of fear of the previously mentioned splitting fee. He ordered another 2 beers for himself throughout the dinner. I didn't end up finishing my meal because I was honestly just uncomfortable with most of this situation at the time. And then the end came with the bill and a box for my leftovers. And he takes the box of leftover pasta and says, "I can't wait for my mom to try this. She is going to be so happy that there are some leftovers for her." I thanked him for the meal, but I think that he could tell that my mood was off. I know that he was trying to do something nice, but honestly, the whole thing just felt a bit disrespectful, I guess. Will I be the jerk if I brought this up to him? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, this was not treating you. Like, I understand he didn't have a ton of money, but he should have been like, "Oh, OP, you get the beef Wellington, I'll get the pasta." And like, what's with him being like, "Oh, you can only have 1 beer, but I'm getting 4." And then stealing OP's leftovers to take home to his mom? Like, not once was he considerate to OP in any step of the process. Like, this wasn't a treat for her. This was, "I'm going to have a fancy meal and you can come along and watch me."
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem I have here is that it was more or less like he treated himself, and that it's pretty clear that that was the goal from the outset. I mean, he didn't even pay for this himself, too, on top of that. It was a voucher from their mom. So I don't know that this is like the big fancy date that he is claiming it is. I mean, OP could have bought him a voucher at that point in time as well. You know, it's for him to pay for her meal. I mean, I could think that this could have been a nice gesture, but I think that he kind of fell short. And as for the plate splitting fee, apparently the plate splitting fee means that if you order one entree, then you can, charge to have it split between 2 plates. It doesn't necessarily mean that the OP couldn't have taken his beef Wellington, which I do think puts a little bit of a different slant on this situation where OP could have shared it. They just didn't realize that that was a possibility. So.
Right, but nowhere along nowhere anywhere did he take OP's considerations into this.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was one thing, that might not be too bad. I still think that if you're getting 2 dishes, even if there's an intention to split, if you know your partner really wants the expensive thing and you're supposed to be treating them, you let them get the expensive dish, you get the cheap dish, and then you split accordingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you add in the I'm taking the leftover pasta and I'm having 4 drinks when I said you can only have 1, it's
yeah. There's so much hypocrisy here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of absurd. But what do the comments have to say?
Robin says, "Outrageous, man. I want what he's smoking. Taking the box at the end was the cherry on top."
Yeah.
And then she says, "Okay, light alcoholism aside, why get multiple drinks from a restaurant? 1 drink is the cost of the whole bottle of liquor at a normal liquor. Man is both dumb at relationships and money."
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like the wisest financial decisions here. I think that he could have done a little bit better. I think he could have done better. I think that OP, and I know I've clicked off the other story, but I think that OP does need to sit down with him,
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation, explain that this was hurtful to them, and then maybe even they go into couples therapy, because I don't know if this is enough to end the relationship if everything is good otherwise, but it might be enough to end the relationship, and especially if they don't, work on their communication and stuff like that.
Well, and with the caliber of people I see on Reddit, it's where do you even find these people? But
yeah,
it's
well, I mean, I guess my bar has lowered.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where you're going with this. It's sometimes the mental bar of what a terrible partner is just oh well, you're not the worst partner I've ever seen in the world.
I mean, I was kind of going I'm actually assuming the worst in him because I'm assuming this is one little tiny picture into a much larger window of his behavior based on what I've seen on Reddit.
Yes. Speaking of eating out, our next letter is titled, "My date asked me to pay for a free meal and I refused. I went to go out with a guy for the first date at a restaurant that he chose. We met in the parking lot and he had a medium-sized box with him. When I asked what was in it, he said that it was work-related and the restaurant owner were his clients. He was a salesman for something. He disappeared for about 15 minutes while I was being seated. It was a bit awkward to be seated alone at a table for the first 15 minutes while he double booked our date with work. Well, when we sat down, we chatted a lot. He wasn't ready to order for the first 30 minutes that we were at the table, so I decided to be a good sport about it, even though I had been sitting at the table for 45 minutes now and hadn't ordered anything but water yet. Well, during the chatting, he admitted to me that he trades goods for free meals at restaurants. For example, the goods that you're selling are about $100 retail, the restaurant will give him a meal worth the same. He said that the cost of the goods are much lower than the actual retail price, just as the cost of the restaurant for the meal is lower than the menu price. It made sense. We ate, and for a few reasons other than the meal trade, I had decided that we weren't really right for each other. The following day, when he texted me, I let him know that I didn't really feel a spark and that I would not be seeing him again. He then told me that I owed him money for half of the meal. He said that it was customary if a woman decides that it's a one-time thing that they have paid for her meal, if it's a one-time thing, to have paid for her own meal. I would sort of agree, but in this case, he didn't even pay for the meal at all, so I'm not really sure. He is talking to me as if I had an agenda to have gotten a free meal out of him before I have even met him. Am I the jerk for not paying for my meal when the restaurant didn't even bring us a bill? And to add, there was nothing shady in the box, it was just ink cartridges. Oh, ink cartridges. Very shady. Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, first of all, if someone offers to treat you to a meal, like, and then you later decide to decline and to see them again, you're not obligated to compensate for them, even if they paid for the meal.
Yeah.
Like, it may be a courtesy to offer if you know already you're not going to pay again, but like, you're not obligated. But I think the fact that he didn't pay for the meal and is expecting OP to then compensate him, like, I know he had delivered a service, but he didn't pay for the meal. Nobody paid for the meal.
So, a long time ago, probably, I don't know, over 10 years ago, wrote an article about how we could in the future, use ink to pay for things. And I'm so glad that that has come to fruition now. That's what I have to say. I have seen the future. I'm way ahead of times. I don't know if you remember that, right?
I do not remember.
Oh, it was I thought it was funny. But I mean, clearly it was not as funny as I remember.
Or my memory's just bad.
Yeah, I think that it was inappropriate for him to ask for compensation here. Like, OP didn't even see the bill, so there's no way of OP even knowing what the cost of the meal was. There's no receipts, there's nothing traded, it's kind of a shady situation. He left OP waiting. I think that OP could just charge him for his time at that point in time and be like, well, I charge by the hour and you were kept me waiting for 45 minutes. So yeah, maybe you can pay me for the $40 or something like that for my time. I don't know. I'm just being a little bit absurd here. But what do the comments have to say?
So Robin says this whole situation is sketchy, not the jerk.
Yeah.
Tuesday says he's trying to profit twice, free food and free money.
Yeah.
And Sweet Memory says, I agree, Tuesday, he is a scammer.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Speaking of being a scammer, actually this one has nothing to do with scamming anyone. Am I the jerk for bringing my neighbor's kid inside my house during a hailstorm? So we had a hailstorm with about 10 minutes notice. I went outside to pull the car into the middle of the parking space to try and avoid damage. While I was outside, the neighbors were leaving. I mentioned that there was a hailstorm coming and they said that they were just going to go to the store. Okay, not what I would do, but I didn't say anything. Well, 2 minutes later, they are gone and I'm covering my plants with a heavy tarp and going inside. Their kid was outside and couldn't get in. Neighbor's car nowhere in sight. I told him that they said that they were going to the store and asked if he could get inside. And he said that they would be back fast. Well, I went inside, but I took a peep outside the peephole and I could see him running back and forth between the overhang by the door and the carport area in the back. The storm immediately kicked up, so I opened from the door and I yelled to him because it was so loud to come into my house. He ran inside and I told him these are my kids. You can sit here. Do you need a phone to call your mom? He said that he didn't know the number off the top of his head and that his device was smashed. I don't know if it was from the hail or not. So I watched through the peephole, and when his mom finally pulled up, I opened the door for a second for him, and that way he could wave at her. The worst of it lasted for about 10 minutes, so when it let up, I let him run to his parents' car. My husband said that I overreacted, but he was like 12 and running back and forth trying to find cover, which he couldn't find because the hail was going down and sideways. We had dead birds, messed up trees, dents on our car hood. Some of the hail balls measured over 3 inches in diameter. Did I do the wrong thing by bringing the kid inside? I didn't really know what else I could have done, and there wasn't any time to ask. Do you feel safe coming inside? Because he couldn't hear me and the hail was coming in sideways with lots of wind. My kids saw how bad it was when I opened the door, and they said that it was the right thing for me to do. My husband was watching TV in the middle of the house and didn't see how severe it was and never even got up to check. Did I do the wrong thing by bringing him inside during the hailstorm? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. OP, I think you absolutely did the right thing. There was a kid in need, and that is some pretty severe hail coming down. Like, he could have gotten seriously injured from it.
Maybe even killed.
Yeah. And so I think what you did was the kind and humanitarian thing. Like, yeah, generally it's probably not good to bring kids into your house that you don't know, but this was an emergency situation. And I like how, like, it doesn't sound like anyone had an issue except OP's husband, who couldn't be fussed to do anything while this was all going on.
Well, that's the thing that I have a problem here, is that he didn't even check to see how bad it was outside. He just is kind of assuming that OP's overreacted, when in all actuality, it's that OP did the right thing and probably saved that kid a lot of problems, you know? The fact that the phone was smashed even, I mean, that tells you a lot.
And like dead birds on the ground.
This is just not something that you mess around with. If you see a kid and they're in danger, you don't just sit around and like, this kid is in danger, I'll just watch them get pelted by hailstones all for the next 10 minutes. You just yell at them through the door periodically at the hailstorm. Hey, you still doing okay, kid? You look like you're struggling with those hailstorms. Maybe you should dodge a little bit better here. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, better late than never.
Welcome,
so Mary's
Mary.
Here now. Robin says, I would understand the parents' potential concern, but they didn't seem to be upset. It's just the husband.
Yeah.
But not the jerk for sure. Guys should be assisting the children in need.
Yeah.
Chise says, not the jerk, hail is no joke. It can kill in the right conditions, and it's always good to err on the side of caution. Plus, he was a child. A grown stranger would be one thing, but you should be able to help a kid. And then Sweet Mary says, not the jerk. She saved him. The parents weren't acting responsibly. And Mary says, yikes, hailstones can kill.
Yeah. Speaking of something that can kill, this has nothing to do with anything that can kill. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Canceling My Financial Support for My Son's Wedding After His Fiancée Catfished Him to quote-unquote test his loyalty? So, my son is 23 and he got engaged a few months back. Recently, he admitted to me that he'd been texting with a girl that he met on Tinder. That alone already shocked me. He's engaged, and that's obviously not acceptable behavior. But here's the twist. The girl on Tinder was actually his fiancée. She had made a fake account to quote-unquote test whether he would stay loyal. And when he flirted back, she confronted him. Yes, what my son did was messed up, but creating a whole fake profile to trap your partner, that's manipulation. If you have to run a sting operation to trust your fiancé, maybe you shouldn't be getting married. After learning this, I told my son that I wouldn't be paying for the wedding anymore. I don't want to support a marriage that's already starting with lies and games from both sides. Some people in the family are saying that I'm overreacting and punishing both of them. What's your opinion? Oh, and there was a small update on this one. Apparently, OP, says that they are reconsidering their position a little bit. Because you go ahead if you want.
Yeah, well, so because OP kind of like pinned it all, like the girlfriend was the one in the wrong, and recognized that that she was treating her too harshly, and that the son was a problem too, basically.
Yeah, but what do you folks think?
So I mean, I don't think the wedding should go on because I don't think they sound ready for marriage. So I don't think OP is in the wrong for not wanting to financially support this union.
Yeah.
There's no trust in this relationship.
Yeah.
You cannot have a marriage without trust.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that OP has seen that her son is a big part of the issue here. Yeah, testing your partner isn't good. It's a sign that the trust is already broken. But cheating on your partner is also not a good thing, and I'm glad she's recognizing now that her son is not an innocent party or even close to an innocent party in the situation.
Yeah, where I kind of have where I draw a line on tests is I don't really view this was as much of a test as a reconnaissance mission in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways, right? Because like she had clear evidence that there was something strange going on because he has a Tinder profile and is active on
Well,
Tinder,
that's a good point. This was on Tinder, and
right?
it wasn't like it was Instagram or something like that where anyone has a profile.
So I kind of have a little bit of a problem where people are like, well, she's testing him. I don't know. I think, like, again, if you have evidence that your partner is doing something, nefarious or, not above board, you have the right to look into that and investigate it, because now they've presented evidence that they may be being unfaithful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a problem with, partners investigating when there's, evidence of it.
Yeah, the Tinder detail slipped my mind when you were reading the story. I was
Yeah.
thinking it was like Instagram or something.
But yeah, if it had been like Instagram or they were just like, purposely trying to entrap them on,
Mm-hmm.
and flirt with them on like through like Facebook or Instagram or any number of platforms, right, that are just like social media, then I would say, oh yeah, what she did here was completely inappropriate. There's not like a pretense for cheating. She's just kind of fishing at that point in time, right? But I mean, she sure did do fishing though with the catfishing.
Yeah, well, again, it does not seem like a healthy
No.
relationship where there's no trust in this relationship. It should not go on to the marriage stage. Like, at a minimum, they would need all kinds of counseling. But again, I think probably the best course of action is for her to run and find a partner she can trust and doesn't have to get reconnaissance on.
Yeah. Well, what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, neither the bride nor the groom sound ready for marriage.
Yeah.
Tuesday says, oof, they're perfect for each other. Son is bad for cheating, fiance is bad for testing. OP is allowed to keep their money, but OP sucks for blaming the fiance so much.
Mm-hmm.
Robin says, this relationship is doomed, and I don't think OP owes them money for a union they do not support.
Yeah.
However, I don't like that OP is putting more blame on the woman. Like, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And OP does, like I said, recognize that they were putting a lot of blame on them and they did have an edit. I just neglected to get the edit on this one, so sorry about that. Speaking of negligence, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for canceling my wedding after my fiance tested me with a fake cheating scenario? I could have used, like, speaking of cheating, it could have been a better segue than that, but, we can't possibly ever have a good segue here. Otherwise, like, what's the point
The
even?
universe would break.
Yeah, the universe would break, so I just saved you all. You're welcome. So I'm a 29-year-old male, and I was betrothed to marry my fiance, a 27-year-old female, in 4 months. We had been together for 3 years and everything was fine until last week. I guess she was attempting to quote unquote test my loyalty. She had her cousin, who I'd never ever met, she lives out of state, DM me on Instagram telling me that she was this random girl who quote unquote knew me from somewhere. She started out friendly and then flirtatious. I didn't even notice the first couple of messages, but when she sent a bikini selfie and asked me if I was single, I responded with, I'm not interested, I'm engaged, leave me alone. I thought that was the end of it. Well, flash forward to last weekend, and my fiance owns up to the whole thing in laughter. She says I passed the test, and that she was proud of me, but asked how I handled the pressure. And I wasn't laughing. I told her that I did not appreciate being manipulated and that one does not test trust and one does not test trust, one creates it. She was over and over stating it was just a joke and a harmless prank, but in my opinion, it was a huge breach of trust. After thinking about it for a couple of days, I told her that I had to postpone the wedding. She and her family are furious. My mom thinks that I'm dumb, but my sister is on my side and told me that kind of garbage is poisonous. So am I the jerk for canceling my wedding because of a test of loyalty? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I think this is a nice contrast to the last story where, as far as we can tell, there was no evidence of anything.
Yeah.
She had her cousin hit him up on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And it again, if you don't trust your partner and have to go to the point of testing them, you should not be thinking about marrying them.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big contrast between this story and the last story is that there was no pretense. There was no need for her to investigate this. She just took it upon herself to be like, oh, I wonder if he's going to be faithful or not. And then they created this like scenario that they could test OP on. So I just disagree with the methods here, and I think it was completely inappropriate. So, But what do the comments have to say?
So Tuesday says, oh wait, Robin says, I feel like tests are only for when you're ready to leave and gathering evidence before you do. This is just hurtful to OP, and I understand their hesitation.
Yeah.
Tuesday says, not the jerk. I had an ex just like this. The test will continue. OP was right to leave. And Mary says, if OP had flirted back, would the fiance have bought the line? It was a harmless prank.
Yeah, well, that's just it, is it wouldn't have been a harmless prank at that point in time. She already revealed that it was a not a harmless prank. It's literally a test. She already said what it was. Speaking of funny jokes, quote unquote funny jokes, this is actually a real segue this time. Am I the jerk for banning my sister from my house after she tricked her boyfriend into drinking my breast milk? I'm a 28-year-old female, and my little sister Becky is a 25-year-old female, and she's a character. Sunday, my husband Tom, a 29-year-old male, and I heard a scream of Becky's boyfriend Dale, a 26-year-old male. We rushed into the living room to find Becky laughing on the floor. Dale was in the downstairs bathroom. Becky then told us some news that grossed us out. She told us that she had tricked Dale into drinking my breast milk. I told Becky that it's not funny. I told Becky that that's too immature and that she's banned from my house. Obviously, my husband is on my side. Becky has been going around telling people. Most of the people that she told turned on her, but our mom, Jen, a 53-year-old female, said that Becky's prank was funny and that I should lighten up a little bit. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. You should not be forcing people to drink bodily fluids without their consent. Like, this is, like, OP did not consent to having her fluids used in this way.
Yep.
And he did not consent to ingesting them.
Yep.
And also, like, I don't know how much milk OP had pumped, but, like, the sister could have ruined, some of the milk source by doing this. Like, I don't know if how she administered it to him, but this is food for OP's baby.
Yeah.
Like, she's ruining food of which there is a limited supply.
Well, that's one of the big issues I have here is that this was literally taking food out of a baby's mouth. One, for her to prank her boyfriend. I mean, come on. Really? That is immature. At the very core of it is immature. And two, like you said, what happens if this ruins the whole batch, right? Like, how can OP trust that this isn't going to make their child sick now, right? And I think that that's a travesty because it's a lot of work to pump breast milk. There is a lot of work that goes into it. And I mean, I could only imagine that OP being distraught about this because that is just not going to be funny to OP in any world, right? But what do the comments have to say?
So Sweet Memory says gross. Robin says violating and wasteful, obviously not the jerk. Tuesday says, if I had a nickel for every time a Reddit star used breast milk as a prank, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Anyway, not the jerk. Sweet Memory says, how are the family members always on the wrong side? And Mary says, I am so sick of other people pranking with someone else's breast milk. Pumping is not easy, comfortable, or fair when the supply is meant for an innocent baby.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of I don't even know. Terrible. I don't know. I don't have a segue here. Am I the jerk for embarrassing my mother-in-law in front of guests after she implied that I don't do real work? I don't know. Something segue doesn't relate to anything. There you go. Segue. So I'm a 28-year-old female and I work from home as a software developer. My mother-in-law, a 58-year-old female, has never understood or respected that. Every time she visits, she makes snide remarks like, oh, must be nice to sit in pajamas all day, or back in my day, we actually had to commute to work. Well, this past weekend, we hosted a small barbecue. During the dinner, someone asked what I do, and before I could answer, mother-in-law chuckled and said, oh, she watches Netflix and calls it coding. Without skipping a beat, I smiled and said, yeah, and that Netflix paid off your son's student loans and bought this house. Everyone laughed. Mother-in-law got quiet, and they left my husband saying that I was being unnecessarily mean. Oh, after they left, my husband said that I was being unnecessarily mean and that I should have just let it slide. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Why hasn't your husband shut this down before? Like, this should have been shut down before by OP's husband.
Yep.
I think OP's response was perfectly in line. Why is it okay for his mom to repeatedly try to humiliate OP? Like, but as soon as OP says something that makes her feel humiliated and points out just kind of like how ridiculous she's being, it's, oh no, you've done something so horrible. How could you do that to my precious mother?
Yeah, I think that OP has a husband problem more than anything at this point in time. I mean, they have a mother-in-law problem, but they certainly have a husband problem. If he's going to sit there and tell OP that they're wrong for defending themselves, like mother-in-law has had it out for OP for a long time, and the husband doesn't even sound grateful that OP's paid off his loans
No.
or bought the house that they live in, right? Like instead he's like, you're being too harsh on my mom. How
You should have let it slide.
you should have let it slide and let her continue to try to humiliate you and treat you badly.
It benefits him because if OP is just sitting at Netflix all day, then he's the one who bought the house and paid off his loans.
I mean, that's a good point. Like maybe this is a matter of like he's trying to rewrite history,
right? Boost his ego.
Yeah, to make it seem like he's the one who's doing stuff, and like this was in front of a crowd of a lot of people, I guess, a lot of their friends. And so if he may feel hurt because he may be in this whole idea or going around telling people about how they have a house and blah blah blah, right? So I don't know. I think that you might bring up a really valid point here with him benefiting from the idea that OP just sits around and does nothing all day. But what do the comments have to say?
Tuesday says, segue idea, speaking of wrong family.
Yeah.
Mary says, I would ask mother-in-law in front of the crowd, please explain exactly what I do as a software developer. We're all eager to learn from your wisdom.
Yeah.
Tuesday says, I'm so sick of people disrespecting jobs until they learn salary. Even if OP wasn't making a lot, she should still be respected. OP has a husband problem, not a mother-in-law problem.
Yeah.
And then Mary says, my income will afford a better divorce lawyer than your son.
I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. I think that OP would benefit from that answer, to be quite honest. Speaking of benefiting from letting your partner go, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Letting It Go After My Fiance's Friends Called Me His quote-unquote free maid? So
it works.
Yeah, it does. It works. It finally works, folks. The stars have aligned. The universe is in order. Let's read this one. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I've been with my fiance, a 28-year-old male, for 4 years. We got engaged last fall, and we both work full-time, but I work from home, and I have more flexible hours. I also cook, clean, and manage the house chores because he's just bad at that stuff. I've never complained, and I don't mind taking on domestic stuff if we're partners and he appreciates me. That changed this weekend. He invited his friends over for a barbecue. During drinks, I overheard one of them say, "You really locked it down early. I need to get a live-in maid as well." They laughed, and another said, "Yeah, he's winning. Doesn't even have to pay her." I was standing 5 feet away. My fiance saw me, smiled, and said, "Well, she does like things clean." Like it was true. I went inside. I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. I just stayed quiet. Later that night, I told him how humiliated I felt. He said that I was being too sensitive and that they were just joking. I told him that it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like they were mocking me. And he didn't defend me. He said, "You know how I appreciate you, but I can't control how my friends joke." I said that it wasn't about control, it was about respect. Now he says that I'm being cold and ruining a great thing over one night. Am I the jerk for not letting it go? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And a great thing for who?
Yeah.
It sounds like this relationship is benefiting one person a lot more than the other. And I hope that OP can use this opportunity to reflect on what are they actually getting out of this relationship. If their partner is willing to just sit there while their friends demean OP, like, sure, he can't control the words that come out of his friends' mouths, but he can be like, "Hey, why would you say that about my girlfriend?"
Yeah, or even just say, "Hey, I don't really appreciate that kind of talk here.
Yeah.
My, partner, they do a lot of hard work and they bring in a lot of income, blah, 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 blah. and really making it clear that they appreciate what OP does. But here it seems like he's taking her for granted and joking about her being a maid, right? I
Yeah.
mean, how much more disparaging can you possibly get, right?
Right. Well, and like, I mean, he's somehow gotten out of housework through weaponized incompetence.
Yeah.
You know, OP, he can learn. He can get better at stuff. And if you want to stay with him, which I recommend you don't, I recommend you just run for the hills, absolutely start expecting him to pull his fair share. It's not fair for you to be doing all the work while he sits around like, haha, I got my free maid.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's very disrespectful. It's not good, not a good look at all. And I hope OP ends up just taking their ball and walking. But what do the comments have to say?
Robin says, absolutely not. Him defending the friends and doubling down is so concerning, I would run.
Yeah.
Mary says, OP held it in until she was alone with hubby. She could have confronted him in front of his cronies. OP showed restraint and not the jerk.
Yeah.
Tuesday says, it can't control how my friends joke. You can control how you react. Friends should respect your partner enough not to joke about them like that. But he could have said, not cool or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Mary says, guess what else I can let go?
Yeah. I mean, he needs to be let go. Oh, and Marsha, I guess, can't comment because they need to take their dog for a bike. But you're going to listen. Well, welcome, Marsha. We're happy to have you with us. Speaking of another partner that you should run for the hills from, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Leaving My Girlfriend in Colorado After She Joked About Pushing Me Off a Mountain Cliff? So first time posting, I hope they get this right. I recently took a trip to the Rocky Mountains with my girlfriend. I have an extreme fear of heights, like a full-on phobia. I can't go near balconies or steep drops without getting shaky. I didn't even want to go, but I figured that I would try to push through since it's a bucket list spot. Well, before the trip, I had several serious talks with my girlfriend about how scared I was. I even warned her that I've had panic attacks before. She promised that she would help me stay calm and keep a safe distance from any cliffs or ledges. Well, on the first day of our guided hike, we stopped at a scenic overlook. While we were near the edge taking photos, she suddenly grabbed me and pretended to push me off. I completely lost it. Full-on blown panic attack. I was crying, shaking, yelling at her in front of the group, and the guide had to step in and help. She kept saying that it was just a joke and that I was making a scene. I told her that she was heartless and brought up her ex leaving her because she was being immature, which now I admit was a low blow, especially in public. I guess it took me back to the guide took me back to the visitor center, and I haven't seen her since. I left the hotel room, I took an Uber to the airport, and I flew to stay with my family while I figure things out. I paid for the hotel and rental car, and I left her a note explaining where I went, and I didn't take anything of hers. Now, our friends are blowing up my phone saying that I overreacted and abandoned her. I've only talked to my closest friends about what really happened, but somehow people think that I'm trashing her behind her back. Honestly, I'm starting to wonder if I did overreact, so am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And I think now is a good time to clear the air about what really happened. And anyone who still thinks you're in the wrong after they find out what she did is just not a good person to be friends with, and you can cut them out of your life. Panic attacks are no joke. When you know someone has an intense phobia, you do not do anything to mess with that phobia. And like, even people who aren't afraid of heights or afraid of falling might still be afraid of being shoved off a mountain. Like, there are some things you don't joke about. It's dangerous, first of all. And like, one wrong move and you could actually hurl someone off a mountain.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of an irresponsible thing for her to do. And I mean, I understand that maybe she thought that she was being funny, and maybe they were far enough away from the edge that they didn't think that it was going to be that big of a deal. But it sounds like they severely broke the trust of OP here. And again, like, OP has to now live with the idea that at any moment she could just be, turn and do something like this, right?
Right. Well, and her act be like, oh, you're overreacting. Like, clearly she's never had a panic attack before, because like, when you're in a panic state, especially if you don't have like any therapeutic techniques or anything, like, getting out of that state, you're not really fully in control. People have involuntary responses. They may cry, scream, yell, because your brain thinks you're literally about to die and it's doing everything it can to keep you alive. And so, like, it's not overreacting. It's just the brain being like, oh my goodness, we're dying. We need to stop this.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, this is not a lifelong match. OP should confide in her that they have a phobia of traveling with a psycho. Robin says, not the jerk. The title did have me concerned, but she was given so much warning, and I have a feeling that if the genders were reversed, all the friends would clearly see her as being in the wrong. And Sweet Memory says, the girlfriend was very cruel.
Very, very cruel. Speaking of mildly cruel, I don't know, maybe mildly cruel. Our next letter is titled, my boyfriend brought his female coworker to our movie night without asking me. Is this okay? So I'm a 27-year-old female, and I've been with my boyfriend, a 29-year-old male, for 2.5 years, and things are usually pretty solid. We live together, and I would say that we're happy. But lately, he's been talking a lot about his female coworker. We'll call her Sarah for argument's sake. He says that they're just friends, and I even met her once, and she seemed cool, no red flags or anything like that. But last night, I got home from work expecting our usual movie night. It's kind of our thing. And Sarah was just there, on our couch, with popcorn. He didn't even mention that she was coming over. He said, oh, I thought that it would be fun for us to join us since we're watching her favorite movie. I was so thrown off. Like, this is our time, you know? I tried to play it off cool, but I felt weird the whole night. When I asked him later, he said that I was making it a big deal and that they're just work buds. But I'm not out here inviting my guy friends to our couple stuff without a heads up. It's affecting me more than I want it to. Am I being dramatic, or is this kind of off? What would you do? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, no, you're not being dramatic, and this does seem off. Like, first of all, it's just disrespectful. This is your home, too. And these are established plans that you and your partner have every, week, it sounds like. And if he wanted to change the plans, he should have reached out and been like, hey, OP, is it okay if I bring my coworker?
Yeah.
It's not okay to unilaterally change the plans and bring someone into someone's apartment unexpected and just be like, oh, she's here. It's her favorite movie. We're watching this all now. It definitely seems like I'm getting not cool vibes from this whole situation.
Well, the trouble I have here is that even if this was just completely innocent, he still kind of violated the trust that they had kind of established for that, I guess, personal time between them, right? Like, relationships need time for people to do stuff together, right? And instead of asking her if she would mind, he just kind of made a unilateral decision. And again, like, you don't bring someone along for a date night without talking to your partner first, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that this could be potentially innocent. Could be. But all the signs are looking not so good for that, right?
Yeah, well, and the fact that after, OP talking to him about it, instead of him being like, I'm so sorry, I thought you would, I thought you'd be fine with having her there. You're right, I should have talked to you first. He's just like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Like, the fact that he doesn't see anything wrong makes me concerned about when else is he going to bring her around. And, is he just hoping to secretly add her to their relationship or something?
He might be, or maybe replacing her.
Yeah, he was
right?
either replacing her or bring her in or something.
Well, and I think maybe replacing, because it feels like this is slowly wearing it away and slowly getting OP used to them being together more and more until one day maybe he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm not in love with you anymore, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, maybe it could be that he's trying to, open up the relationship or something like that, but I don't know. I mean, it's really difficult to say for sure one way or the other, but
yeah, I mean, this is rampant speculation, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. But I mean, it does feel like there's something off, and that there is potentially he is trying to,
set things up for some kind of future with his coworker.
Yeah. And if he isn't, then I mean, they need to sit down and establish boundaries and, have a conversation about expectations and stuff like that. And because this could be perfectly innocent, right? But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, sounds like the boyfriend is setting the scene for, we couldn't help it, we fell in love.
Yeah.
And Robin says, definitely weird behavior on his part, but I think this can be solved with basic communication and hopefully isn't an indicator of deeper disrespectful behavior.
I hope so. Speaking of disrespectful behavior, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for cutting off my dad financially after finding out that he had a secret second family and took out debt in my name? I'm a 26-year-old female, and I've helped my dad, a 57-year-old male, on and off for years. Since I was 20, he said that he was struggling. Medical bills, mortgage, groceries. I paid off his car note once and even covered 2 months of his mortgage last year so that he wouldn't quote unquote lose the house. He's always made me feel like I was all he had. My mom passed when I was a teen and we were close. Or I thought we were. Well, last month, a cousin let something slip. My dad has a whole other family, a girlfriend that he's been with over a decade, and 2 kids ages 10 and 6. I had no clue. He has been splitting his time between both homes, telling me that he's working late or out of town. When I confront him, he admitted it, said he didn't tell me because I would judge him, and he wanted to protect my feelings. I was devastated, but it gets worse. While reviewing my credit to apply for a loan, I found out that he had taken out 2 credit cards in my name. One was maxed out. Total balance over $6,000. When I brought it up, he said that he was going to pay it off eventually and that it was for the family. I told him that I was done. I reported the cards, I froze my credit, and I told him that I'm not sending him another dime. Now he is begging, saying that kids don't deserve to suffer, and that his girlfriend is texting me now too, saying that I'm cruel and ripping their family apart. Extended family is split, some are shocked, and some say that I should forgive him because he's your dad. I feel completely betrayed. He lied, stole, and used me financially. Am I the jerk for cutting him off completely, even with young kids involved? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I think you're making the sensible move. He was stealing from you and doing everything under false pretenses.
Exactly.
And the only way you can get those fraudulent charges removed is if you report it. Like, I think, reporting it as fraud, freezing your credit, that's all the right thing to do, because otherwise you're going to be liable for that debt. There's no way to hold him accountable unless you report him. And this is not your problem. This is his situation he created through a long game of manipulation. He was happy to take money from you to support his other family, to take out debt in your name and sabotage your financial future just so he could keep supporting his second family.
Yeah. So I just want to check on the age, and OP is apparently like 26 or something like that. And this has been going on for a decade?
Well, his oldest kid is 10. It's been going on for more than a decade.
Oh, more than a decade. So like 20 years. And when did OP's mother pass?
Sometime when she was a teenager. So it was either right after she passed or he was having an affair while she was still alive.
Yeah. So none of those options really seem very good. I mean, I understand, like, sometimes it's hard to integrate families. Like, mixed families can be a really difficult situation. But the fact that he hid all of this from OP, didn't tell them anything, and then let them find out on their own.
Yeah, and he's been using OP financially since she was barely an adult.
Yeah. And I have a real hard time with how he's treated OP in this whole situation. Instead of being open and honest and upfront about his motives, he hasn't been any of those things, right? He's had a wife who could have helped him, right? He has other children. I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that he would try to play this whole victim at this point in time. I mean, he's not a victim. I mean, he has a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, well, and like any family who are supporting him, be like, well, do you want to like pay for his mistakes? Like, you can pay for him from now on because I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, all those people, if they want to have an opinion, they can step up and start paying. Like, he is the adult. I mean, I hope he's an adult now too, but he's been the adult all along, taking things from someone who is barely an adult under false pretenses.
Yeah, exactly. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, okay, this is out and out fraud. I would cut him off and even explore the possibility of recovering financial aid requested under false pretenses, as well as recovering fraudulent cards. Robin says, weird, not the jerk. This was manipulation to the highest degree. Sweet Memory says, not the jerk. It's not OP's responsibility to take care of Dad's family, especially since he lied, stole, and kept them a secret. And then Mary says, I wouldn't even rule out criminal charges that would send him to prison. Parents have no right to steal from their kids.
I mean, I think that that's a good point, is that there should be criminal charges potentially filed here. I mean, especially if OP expects to clear their name, they may need to file charges or press charges against him. And, and that's the problem, is when parents steal from their kids, they know to some degree that the kids are going to feel bad about getting them locked up. And so they feel like, I think, they have more of an ability to steal from their
Well,
kids.
yeah, and because they put on the guilt tripping, and they get all the other relatives to pile on the guilt tripping and be like, "But he's your father. You can't do this to him." And it's like, well, that's easy for you to say when it's not your financial future on the line. You're not the one who's had your credit run into the ground.
Yeah.
And then Marcia says, had to stop that father as a crook, lied about his second family, and using her financially.
Yeah. It's just not good. Just not good. All right. So we're going to read this one. Speaking of secrets, folks. And then we're going to read this one and go into tea time. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Canceling My Wedding After Finding Out My Fiance Had a Secret Second Bank Account? I called off my wedding last month after discovering that my fiance, who I've been with for 4 years, had a completely hidden second bank account, and I'm still getting a lot of backlash from friends and family who think that I overreacted. We have been planning our wedding for over a year. Deposits were made, guests invited, dress bought. We had already merged most of our finances in preparation for marriage. We sat down together months ago and agreed on a full financial transparency going forward. We even talked about long-term financial goals like buying a house, saving for kids' retirements, and I thought that we were on the same page. Well, a few weeks before the wedding, I was doing some paperwork for the joint account when I noticed something odd. A deposit was missing. Not a small one either, $2,500. And he said that it was a transfer to a joint account, and it was that he said that he transferred to the joint account, but was never there. When I asked him about it, he brushed it off and said that it was probably a mistake and that it would show up eventually. That didn't sit right with me. So I did something that I never thought that I would do, and I checked his emails on our shared tablet. I know that this isn't great, but I don't feel good about it, but my gut told me that something was wrong. That's when I found out the notifications for an entirely separate a checking account in a different bank under his name only. The balance, over $27,000. I confronted him immediately. At first he lied, excuse me, and then he said that it was old and he forgot about it, and then he admitted that he had been quietly funneling money from our joint account earnings into that account for the last year and a half. His reason, just in case. In case of what? He couldn't really explain. He said that it was just a backup plan, that he grew up poor, and it made him feel safer. But he never once mentioned any of this during our financial planning conversation. He just kept it secret. I wasn't angry about the money itself. I was angry about the deception. I asked him, if you can lie about something this big before marriage, how can I trust you after we're legally married to each other for life? He told me that I was being dramatic, that this is normal for people to keep some money set aside. But this wasn't a personal savings account that we discussed. It was hidden. When I told him that I needed the time to think, he got defensive. Then, when I told him that I was postponing the wedding, he lost it and said that I was humiliating him, that I was overreacting, and that I was throwing away a future over a technicality. His mother called me the next day, furious. She said that I was selfish for ruining all the wedding plans and judging him for being smart with money. Some of my family think that I should have just talked it through and gone to couples counseling. Others even have said that I'm lucky that he's a saver and that most women would kill to have a man with that kind of money. It was still about trust. Marriage is about a partnership, and it's not about a secret competition. Am I the jerk for canceling my wedding over a hidden bank account? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. He was funneling money from the joint account, so stealing your money and putting it into a secret account. And this wasn't a tiny rainy day fund. This was $27,000.
Yeah.
If you hadn't caught on to this, he was going to keep stealing money for you for who knows how long.
Yeah.
This was not some tiny little mistake. And it's again, there's nothing wrong with having separate money in a relationship. And he could have expressed if he was uncomfortable merging all finances and being like, I want to keep my own bank account. That would have been totally fair and a valid conversation to have.
Yeah.
But to steal money that is jointly OP's at such a high rate, I don't know what they're making, but $27,000 over a year and a half is a huge amount of money to most people.
Yeah. Well, that's the big problem I have here is that this was such a, he really has stolen money at this point in time, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. And he is trying to treat this like it's some protection against, that he's protecting himself against OP. And that's legitimate to some degree, right? Like, it is a good idea to have a account that you set aside to have money that isn't available to your partner, just in case, right? And I think some people will argue that in some cases it's a wise thing not to tell your partner about that money, right? But where I kind of draw the line at what he's doing is that they agreed to have financial transparency, and it doesn't seem like there's any indicators of financial abuse on OP's part. Not that like people can't get nasty, right? But he didn't really uphold his end of the bargain with that financial transparency by revealing that information. And would I feel different if she was an abusive individual? Yeah, I mean, certainly, like, an abusive individual, it's never good to, I guess, surrender your bank accounts to them like that, right? Or, tell them about all of your bank accounts, right? But, I mean, this doesn't seem like that's that kind of situation, so it's a little harder, a little more murky for me.
Well, and also, like, if you need money to, like, get out of a relationship, you don't need $27,000. Like, I'm not saying it's, like, obviously if you make that money and like you put that into the joint account and you want to take it and run, but like if you just need to get out quick, like the way he's been secretly funneling this money over the course of a year and a half, this isn't some little, like, again, like rainy day or to go or a go fund. This is just like I'm slowly taking everything.
Yeah, but what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, if he thinks it's okay to keep financial secrets now, he will feel the same way after marriage. No time like the present to put an end to a shady relationship. He ain't gonna change.
Yep.
Sweet Memory says, another thief. Mary says it will only be humiliating if OP tells everyone in detail why the wedding is called off, and OP should tell anyone who will listen why the wedding was called off. Marcia says, wow, he's a liar and a thief. Call off the wedding plus stealing from the joint account. And Sweet Memory says, if she was abusive, he shouldn't marry her anyway.
Yes. Sorry, I just kind of zoned out for a second there. I was, it's been a long day, and I was like, oh, I'm contemplating very deeply on this. Let's go to tea time, speaking of which. All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What do you give a sick lemon?
When you get a sick lemon, you give it lemonade.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yes, that's actually the answer to the pun, but I was thinking like actual lemonade, but no, your lemonade. I hadn't considered that.
Yes, and that's from the Ultimate Joke Challenge, not my jokes.
Yes. And folks, what kind of drink do you have today? Let me know.
I have water right here in this cute little Eevee tumbler Brian gave me for my birthday.
Yes. So Amber got a new Eevee tumbler, and there you go.
It's very cute.
So let's actually see what the end of this poll here, and how much rain has everyone gotten. So it looks like a little tiny bit of rain. Not some people have gotten some much rain, and only a little few people have gotten no one's gotten a torrential downpour. So yep. You're guessing matcha tea for me and sage tea for yourself. But folks, let's see if anyone else is going to guess. So if you do want to guess, feel free to guess which kind of tea I have. I'm guessing that people aren't going to guess my tea today, though. It's very warm in the house right now. Like, I'm like very, you can kind of see like my forehead is actually sweating right now.
Yeah, it's like 76 degrees. And like that might not seem hot if you're like in the southern US, but like in Maine, that's a little bit toasty.
Yeah, plus I'm wearing this jacket. And I actually have a special guest tea. Today, it's this tea. It's backwards, so you would actually have to read backwards today, but it's Tao, T-A-Z-O, Wild Sweet Orange. Thrill your taste buds with a juicy, tangy infusion of orange peel, lemongrass, citrus herbs, and licorice root. So that's what I'm drinking here.
Was it tasty?
You know, I was expecting it not to be tasty, but it's actually quite good. It has a very nice mild flavor to it. So I mean, I wouldn't say like I was it's I wouldn't say it's my favorite tea in the world, but it's a good tea. It actually is not a bad tea. I don't even remember where we got those teas from. We have this giant box of
My
random
aunt gave it to me for my birthday a few years ago.
a few years ago. So I'm probably drinking
It's like 2 years old.
expired tea that was expired years ago. You can drink hot tea in any weather. I don't blame you there. Though my tea was actually pretty hot there for a little while there. Yeah, I know matcha really isn't a guest tea in a lot of ways, so I really need to change it up here. But it's just an easy, convenient one for me to pull out because it's like, oh, I'll just have some matcha, and it's you've been drinking matcha every single day for months. All right, folks, and our last letter, hopefully a wholesome one, is titled, "My daughter called my stretch marks tiger stripes, and I cried in the laundry room. I have 2 kids. My youngest just turned 4. My body has really never bounced back. I still carry extra weight, and my C-section scar itches in the winter, and my stretch marks have faded into pale silver lines. I try not to hate them, but I do. Well, yesterday I was folding laundry in a sports bra when my daughter came in, touched my belly, and said, 'You have tiger stripes like a superhero.' I laughed, and she said, 'Because you're brave, right?' She doesn't know how often I've poked at my skin in the mirror, wishing that it looked different. She doesn't know that I almost canceled our family beach trip because I didn't want to wear a swimsuit in public. But she thinks that I'm a superhero. I cried in the laundry room where she couldn't see me. I'll try to see myself through her eyes a little more often." All right, folks, what do you think of that story?
Aw, that's so wholesome.
Yeah, it is a nice, wholesome story.
And it's a good reminder that, like, the people who matter will love you as you are and see you as the brave superhero you are.
Yeah, well, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you don't have to view yourself by conventional beauty standards, right?
Well, they're all just a big marketing ploy, to try and sell you. Because the more insecure you feel, the more products you'll buy.
Well, and I think that's a really good point too. Is like sometimes if if you're insecure, they can sell you and on more stuff, and I think that that's really kind of an unfortunate thing, right? But I really think that people need to appreciate their scars because scars can remind you of brave things that you've done in the past, and I think that that's important. So, but what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, "I would far prefer tiger stripes to scars." Shermstick says, "That story made me cry." Sweet Memory says, "Very cute." Tuesday says, "Man, I love kids. My coworkers have kids and I love hearing their stories right now. My boss's 2 older daughters, 5 and 3, are teaming up at night to steal their iPad, and it's so cute."
That is cute. That is very cute. But speaking of cute, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and Robin said something real quick. "My skinny ex told me to get mine looked at by a doctor because she didn't know what they were." Ah, yes. Well, unfortunately, not everyone knows, what they are and whatnot. But thanks so much to everyone for joining me today. Sorry I kind of spaced out there on the end of that last story there. Like I said, it's very hot in here, and I was like dying a tiny bit here. But June is the next month, and let's see when our next live stream is going to be. It is going to be June 27th, if everyone is fine with that.
That's just a few days before my book releases.
Yes.
I'll be talking about my book a lot in June just because it's coming out, and I'm very excited for it. I ordered some bookmarks, and they're coming in soon, so.
Yeah. Have you, do you have a copy of your book on you right here?
Not in the bedroom.
Oh, not in the bedroom?
It's down
Oh,
the
that's too bad.
hall.
Yeah, I was going to show people the cover if you haven't seen it yet. It's a very nice looking cover. I think that Amber's put a lot of hard work into this book, and I think that it's nice that it's going to finally pay off here. So with her releasing it, right, and getting it out into the world. So
Yeah.
it's been a real what is the expression that I'm looking for? Work of love? I don't
Labor of
remember.
love?
Labor of love. Labor of love is the expression that I was looking for, but clearly can't speak. Uh, so yeah, looking forward to the live stream next month and hearing about Amber's book as we go through the month.
Yes.
We were happy to have you with us, Mary. Thank you for joining us. So, these are a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we have these live streams here. Oh, the price of the book. How much is the price going to be, Amber?
Ebook is $2.99. Paperback is going to be $16.99 plus sales tax, so a little bit more.
Yeah, so they're not like overly expensive or anything like that, and especially like the ebook, which is a much kind of a cheaper one too. Bye, Robin. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for joining us, Marcia. Thanks for joining us, Tuesday and Sweet Memories. And Shermstick, welcome as well. So thank you to everyone who has joined us today. I had a lot of fun in this live stream.
Yes, it's been good as always.
So we'll catch you all soon, I guess. Tomorrow, in fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see you all later, folks. Thanks again for joining us.
Bye.
I'll just say bye in the chat here. Yes, bye, Sweet Memories. Bye, Mary. I hope you all have a good evening and a great weekend. And enjoy your non-rainy weather, because apparently everyone but us has little tiny amounts of rain. Like, we get rain every weekend. My goodness. All right, folks. Well, we'll see you later. Take care.